Hello everyone, and welcome back to another session of Dark Souls PvP and another weapon showcase. This time I am using the Large Club, which is definitely one of my favorite weapons in the game. And you know, whenever I use this thing, I can't help but think of the very first time I saw it used in PvP. And that was actually in a video done by Martyr's Brigade quite a long time ago, shout out to him. In that video, he was using the Large Club, and he put a rotten pine resin on it, and he was just going to town with the thing. And it was great. I mean, it was just incredible to watch. And it made me really want to try out this weapon for myself. And when I did, of course, as I said before, I loved it. I just absolutely loved this weapon when I started to use it. So hopefully that happens with some of you guys who haven't given this one a shot yet. You'll think, hey, this weapon looks pretty good. It was definitely fun to watch the video. Maybe I'll give it a shot. If you do, hopefully you love it as much as I do. So anyway, enough of that little story. Probably should get started with this weapon showcase. So the Large Club has a weight of 11 units. It has an 8 scaling in strength, which follows it from the time you get it all the way through up to plus 15. It never gets an S scaling, in my opinion. I think it should, but that's just me. You need 26 strength in order to wield it, and I believe that's 18 if you only want to two-hand it. No dexterity requirement at all, which is great. It's definitely a weapon meant for strength builds, not for quality or anything. Although there are a few strength weapons with a stat requirement for dexterity being around level 10, so I really don't count those, but that's not the point. Anyway, moving on. The Large Club also has a built-in poison buildup, similar to bleed, but, you know, poison, of 180 per hit. So that alone, that's great, but if you put on a rotten pine resin, you're pretty much guaranteed to poison someone. One thing I should say right around now, all of these fights in Darkroot, I'm fighting with two of my friends. I'm not sure if they want me to mention their names or not, so they're going to rename Nameless. But I'm fighting with two of my friends, and it was a good time. So they both get me pretty good in the first two fights I had with them, but I get a little payback a little later on. So you'll enjoy that when you get to see it. So the Large Club, that's all of the basic information about it. Now for the pros and cons. I would have to say the biggest pro of this weapon is definitely its rolling attacks. Now, with its rolling attacks, the two-handed ones, they can't be parried. I'm sure you all know that by now. The rolling attacks on a Great Club, Great Hammer class weapon cannot be parried when they're two-handed. That rolling smackdown, you can't do it. It's been tested and tested and tested, and it can't be done. You can partial parry it and walk around for a backstab, though, which is a great thing to do. Now, other things to say about its rolling attacks, its one-handed rolling attacks, the wide swingy thing that it does, you can dead angle with that very, very easily, so that's something that a lot of people tend to do. Now, one thing also to mention about its rolling attacks, the two-handed ones again, they've got a bit of a shockwave around them, so you can easily, and when I say easily, I mean incredibly easily, hit people in the middle of their instability frames like I did on him earlier in this fight. Managed to get a 700 some odd damage hit on him. So, yeah, biggest pro is the rolling attacks. Other pros of this one in particular, of this weapon in particular, I would have to say the one-handed R2, definitely a great R2. The two-handed R2 is great if you've got someone who is attempting to parry and you throw them off by, you know, doing the two-handed R2 instead of a regular R1. You'll just pancake them like I did to him earlier in that fight. So that's definitely a good thing. Now, the cons of the weapon, it is very slow, and it is really hard to fight against someone who is flipping, which you will see in the very last fight of this video. It's definitely a challenge, and is very annoying, especially when they're flipping so much. It just sort of makes you want to jump off a cliff. Yeah, it's definitely not an ideal time to use it against a person flipping. So that would be, in my opinion, the biggest con of the weapon. Other cons, I would have to say, slow swing speed is pretty much it. You've got a really good damage output. You have a great move set. You've got the ability to dead angle very easily. You've got that little shockwave that comes with the rolling R2. So, I mean, this weapon is really good. It's very well set. And, I mean, with all of that, being able to buff it as well as having the built-in poison effect, you can't really go wrong with all of that. It's great. There is a lot of good things. There are a lot of good things going for this weapon. Now, I do seem to have a little bit of trouble with this weapon when I am trying to do jumping attacks. In this fight alone, I think I failed to do 2 of them at least. So, yeah. I don't know why that is. It was probably just me and my controller or something, but I like that parry. I love getting wake-up parries, and I don't get them often enough. People don't really go for the wake-up hits anymore. It's kind of upsetting, but it's kind of a good thing in my opinion. So, yeah. Alright then, this is the last fight. It lasts for quite a long time because it's mostly me just chasing him around while he pokes at me to death. He's got a rapier as a backup, so yeah, it was fun, or something like that. So really, throughout this fight, just sort of pay attention to all of the times where I should have hit him, and his Hornet Ring saves him. Or not Hornet Ring, Darkwood Grain Ring, I'm sorry. Really, the Darkwood Grain Ring is the most overpowered ring in the game. For those who don't know, you are immune to instability damage. So, yeah, it's definitely the most overpowered ring in the game. So, anyway, that pretty much sums up all I've got to say. The biggest pro of the weapon would be its rolling attacks, both one-handed and two-handed, although for different reasons. With the one-handed, it's for the dead angles. With the two-handed, it's for the ability to have an attack that can't be parried, really. Other pros, you've got the great moveset, you've got those nice R2s, you've got some pancakes thrown in, you've got a poison build-up. So, yeah, cons of the weapon. This fight, that's really all I'm going to say on that. Just watch the fight. So, that's the end of the video. That's really all I've got to say. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.